What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And Bitcoin has gotten a pretty hard rejection at our macro key level of resistance that we were looking at last week on the live stream for a potential bigger dump to come in. And here we are with Bitcoin sitting at about $112,750. We had the key level of resistance. We also had some bearish signs on market cipher B that we went over, anticipating a potentially bigger drop down. And we have now seen that come in. So I wanted to drop this market update and give you guys some thoughts on where I think price is going next. Is this rejection something you should be worried about, or are we just coming down to put in a macro higher low before continuing up to much higher prices? I'm going to break it all down in today's video, so buckle up, Mafia. It's going to be a good one. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. So guys, here we are on the Bitcoin chart, and as you can see, we are getting a pretty hard rejection from our key level of resistance, which we all know is that macro golden pocket that we were obviously looking at last week. Now, this was a big level for many different reasons. Just alone, this macro golden pocket was looked at as a major level of resistance, and this was also very confluent with many other key levels, which is reason number one, this was an important level to watch, but also we were being very careful around this area, even taking a short here at the high in the premium Discord, because we had high time frame money flow indicating that we might be able to continue this macro downtrend. You can see here our daily money flow has come back into the red, but we were also looking at things like the 2-day money flow also coming out here pretty aggressively, just continuously trending to the downside. And then last week, even locally, we saw some of these lower time frame money flow crossovers into the red with higher time frame red dots, giving us some market cipher B 116 bearish setups. And you can see here this 2-hour money flow did indeed indicate that continuation down. And here we are sitting at about $112,800. And we are short here, guys, in the premium Discord, where we had the push into the key level of resistance with the confirmations we were looking for in anticipation of getting that drop down to this literal key level that we're sitting at right now. But unfortunately, with the way money flow looks, I do think that we could potentially see a bigger continuation lower. And yes, I am still holding the short position we talked about last week. We took this all the way up here at the highs in the premium Discord, guys. When we see that money flow coming out, when we see those bearish confirmations into our key level, we are always going to be looking for the opportunity to make some money here on the way down. This trade is up about almost $1,900 as of right now. And yes, we longed the bottom here at 107K, locked in a bunch of profit on the way up, and we are now short from almost the tippy top here. Not only did we come into the golden pocket, we also had some bearish confirmations here. I do not just take trades off of key levels. You guys can see here we did have some bearish divergences forming on many different time frames. You can see it here on the 2-hour. We have the higher high on our price action into our key level of resistance with our lower highs on our momentum waves. And we also had this on bigger time frames, such as the 8-hour bear div. This is one of the big reasons we look to take that short in the premium. We had the 8-hour bearish divergence. We also had the 12-hour bearish divergence printing. And when you get these high time frame divs into major key levels like this, guys, this is a huge opportunity to make some money on the way down. And we covered this all on the live stream last week. So here we are sitting at about $112,800. And don't forget, guys, with money flow coming out on time frames such as the daily and the 2-day here, as you can see with the fresh red dot printing, this is an area where we could have the high, the low, and the potential lower high into that golden pocket, which could potentially call for a break of structure to the downside below $107,000. And when we take a look at that 2-day money flow here, guys, as we've looked at, if this money flow crosses over into the red, with the daily already crossing back into the red, there is definitely an opportunity for this downtrend to continue for a break below $107,000. And if that lower high is going to come in, we knew that the golden pocket 786 zone right up here would be the big area to look at for that rejection. And now as we see that daily money flow back in the red, and as we see the 4-hour money flow crossing back into the red as well, this does look pretty bearish for Bitcoin in my opinion, and any bounces here, even on the 4-hour, could be looked at for lower highs and lower lows to come to not only continue the downtrend here on the 4-hour, but if that 2-day keeps leaking out here, guys, it could indicate that we are on our way to break structure to the downside here at about $107,000, which you all know, as I've mentioned many times, breaking below this $107,000 key level of resistance would be a pretty bearish sign for Bitcoin in my opinion, guys. If I pull up this other chart that we've been looking at, you can obviously see the rejection there from the golden pocket. We've now lost our value area low, and with money flow coming out the way it is, I would say, guys, this does look like a loss of this range, which again gives me the idea of potential lower highs and lower lows coming in. My same thoughts as last week, right? Money flow comes out, it is always going to indicate the longer term trend. This is what helped us identify that we should be holding at least a portion of this short position for a continuation down. And although we are coming into some key levels of support, which I'm going to bring up in just a minute, I would say money flow is definitely indicating a potential continuation down here, not just on the low time frames, but also the higher time frames, which is really what makes me suspicious of coming down and taking this low at 107K. Now, obviously, I would be viewing this as a higher time frame bearish sign for Bitcoin, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there because we are approaching some support. And obviously, the question is here, are we going to see the continuation of this overall downtrend that money flow is pointing towards, or can we get a save here on our key levels of support that we're hitting right now for a higher low, a reclaim of our value area low, and a bigger push to the upside? I will say money flow is not necessarily pointing towards this right now, and just like last week, if you want this to be the case, you are definitely looking for a fake out on money flow, which is something I don't typically fade. Hey, it helped me catch the short here from the high, so I am always going to take that money flow seriously. But as we come down here, guys, we are starting to hit a little bit of support. So when we start to talk about where we can get little bounces from, I would say we are pushing into our first major zone of support. Last week, we were looking at the POC at 118.3 as our next key level of resistance, and our next major key level of support was sitting down here at about 112 to 113,500. And well, what do you know? Money flow pushed us into the key support level. Now, with money flow coming out the way it is, I just don't know how strong this bounce is going to be if we hold here on this local golden pocket 786. Now, luckily, this is not our last level, but it is a local level of confluence. We have the golden pocket, the value area high, and the 786 with our anchored VWAP from the low. Unfortunately, we are getting stuck underneath this anchored VWAP. Just another insult to injury here when we look at those bearish signs. So I would say we are definitely at support here. We have a little 4-hour green dot printing, but again, money flow indicates that trend is going to continue down. I have not taken a long here personally. I added a little bit to my swing long position from below 107K, but I have not taken any fresh longs here just because our money flow is not necessarily calling for a massive move up, but rather a lower high and a potential lower low to come attack some of our bigger key levels of support, in my opinion. Now, this is a local golden pocket pulled from this impulse to the high, but you guys can see we are starting to get stuck underneath this value area high. So if we do continue down here, guys, and we cannot break out of this value area, I would say the next big key levels of support to look at are going to be the full golden pocket 786 retracement levels, which both have pretty nice confluence here. We have the golden pocket POC on top of a daily level there. You can see we have a daily POC and the golden pocket. And then below that, guys, if we are going to come and fill this range in full and lose that golden pocket daily, I will simply be looking down towards the value area low 786 daily confluence. The first zone does sit between about 111,500 and 110,880, and then that second zone sits down here between about 110,141 to about 109,432. Now, although my general thought here is if that high time frame money flow comes out for our macro high, our macro low, our macro lower high, and a macro lower low to come in, I would say losing this 786 would be the first big sign to anticipate that break of structure. And with the way money flow looks like right now, I would say this is probably the higher probability scenario. Just like we looked at last week, money flow is not pointing right now towards a massive move to the upside. So unless we see that money flow turn around here, any long positions that I take at these levels have to be viewed as scalps until proven otherwise. But these are definitely important levels to have on your chart and keep an eye on if we do continue down. And if we continue up, I would say the biggest level of resistance, as per usual, is going to be that value area low of the upper range. Even if we get that retracement, we could get lower highs and lower lows into that value area low, which also has confluence on a daily, as well as some Fibonacci retracement levels. And that does sit between about 115.7 and I would say about 115, even down to about 114.250, where we had the weekly and the daily MPOC that we were looking at for scalp levels. And you guys can see we even talked about these levels on the live stream, but I was not looking at these as the major level of support. And although we did come down there over the weekend, we got a little bit of support there. You can see I did not take a long here personally. I was personally more interested in this 112 to 113K zone. So we got a little support there, but as expected, wasn't the biggest level. And with the way money flow looked for the high probability continuation down, it was worth it to wait for that bigger zone of support that we're sitting at right now. But I would also somewhat incorporate this as our key level of resistance, because if we do come up and we're not able to make it all the way back up to the value area low, these could be key levels of support that we could flip into resistance. So I am definitely on lower high watch here, guys, exactly as I was looking at last week. And, you know, if we had money flow coming up, I'd be looking for big bounces here. But I would just say any bounces here, like, be very careful, guys. You know, lower highs and lower lows are the higher probability based off money flow. And that's what I'm going to stick to. I'm going to keep holding my short trade here. I still have my long position open from 107K, but there's already massive profits taken out of that trade. And my stop loss is already at break even. So I've already considered that a winning trade. So we are long from the absolute low and short from the absolute high here, guys. And money flow is definitely pointing to the downside. So I am interested in continuing to hold this short trade on retracements. So just be careful still on these little fake out pumps to the upside, guys. If something changes, I will keep you updated. But right now, like I said, I have not taken a fresh long position here. I added a little bit to my swing long, but if we do break here, next level to look at is going to be sitting between 111,496 to 110,880. And once we lose that 786 at about 109.5, I will be treating this as a volume profile. So from a very simple perspective, whether we get the bigger retracement or we just get stuck inside here, I will treat this as a typical profile, looking for the POC at about 111,230 to be the next stop. And if we lose that, we are just simply going to look down towards that value area low, where I may be interested in scalp longs at the POC. I would personally prefer the value area low and even a deviation into the weekly MPOC, because you do have some of that backup support here. And when it comes to the value area lows, this is typically where I am looking for long positions if I can get the confirmations. But even here, guys, if that money flow is continuing out on the 4 hour, I would still have to be very careful of lower highs and lower lows. So we'll see if we could break that structure to the downside at 107K. I pray that is not the case, guys, but I am only here giving the information on the charts, and the charts would say that there is definitely a possibility to break that low at 107K, but that does not mean we're not going to be vigilant here at those key levels of support, looking for the potential longs on the POC and the value area low in the premium Discord. But if I had to make a wild guess here, I would say money flow is definitely not looking too hot here, guys. So we're pretty much seeing this play out exactly as we expected last week, guys. So if you are worried about getting a bigger drop to the downside, your goal here is to just simply hold that POC or value area low zone, which is the confluence on the full golden pocket retracement, right? So you do have that confluence. And if I just pull this up on a simple chart here without all the TA, you guys can just see here, right? From a higher time frame, we had the golden pocket 786, major resistance when money flow is agreeing with a lower high coming in here. This is why I am open to the idea of breaking structure to the downside here. But if you are looking for a big bounce, you are going to be looking at this full golden pocket 786 from the low to the high, and that is that same golden pocket 786, which is confluent with the POC and the value area low. These are the levels we need to hold in order to put in that higher low. If we cannot get the bounce at the 786, guys, the break of structure below 107K is going to be very likely, in my opinion. And we all know that with our major support that we were bouncing off of at 107K, this is not a level we want to break, guys. I would see this as a pretty big sign of weakness for Bitcoin. So hopefully we can see money flow just turn around at those next key levels of support. But if we can, it is not looking too hot for Bitcoin, my own personal opinion. It would not immediately indicate bear market to me. We even talked last week about how the rate cuts oftentimes don't give you that instant pop to the upside that you would expect. Oftentimes there's at least a month of sideways price action, or even more likely a push to the downside. So these are the biggest levels to watch. If we start losing 107K, we still have some last levels of support to look at before I start flipping much more macro bearish. Hopefully we can see money flow shape up here, guys, but until something changes on the charts, this is my sentiment, this is my bias, and exactly my trading plan, showing you guys exactly what I'm doing with my money, where I'm taking the trades, so you can hopefully, even on these dumps, make some profit, because the mafia makes money trading Bitcoin whether price goes up or down. We don't really care. Everybody wants Bitcoin to go up. I do too, but even on these dumps down, guys, why would we not capitalize on this and make some money clicking buttons on a computer? So with all that being said, guys, watch those major key levels. I'll keep you guys updated here if anything crazy happens, and I'll see you all on the live stream at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's all I got for this video. Pray for Bitcoin. Frankie Candles out.
At the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, maxed out.